I'll be brief because it's been a long day, but I see the attendance. It's unusual when we do conferences of a different type, of academic types. By the last panel, the last session, we have the true believers still in the room. Not too many, but our conference lasts 3 days. Maybe there's that factor too. I would like to make 3 points about the fall elections. One of the points that I took from the event today, from the numerous presentation, of course, this is about the Crossroads, and Nico Lang said, well, maybe it's not quite a crossroads, Ukraine has taken the wrong turn, and then the question is, will it actually go deeper in the wrong turn, or is there a possibility here of a U-turn? And perhaps bringing Ukraine back to the crossroads when it's been sitting more or less unsteady for 20 years. We understand that the fall election will not be the definitive or the fatal event in Ukrainian history, but it is actually very, very crucial to determine whether there is a possibility of shifting here the direction, the very problematic direction that Ukraine has taken since Yanukovych was elected 2 years ago. Should we, maybe I'll be controversial in saying that, in an election that was actually fair and free. And I remember writing, we may not like the outcome, but this is actually an achievement of the Orange Revolution, that the process was respected. And of course, we know now that the basic question is that all the processes are no longer respected. These structural achievements have been dismantled. So my 3 points about the election in the fall, in a sense, 3 unknowns. The first unknown is the extent to which there will be violations. That is, we know there will be because Tymoshenko and Lutsenko and many others are already in jail. And, we had the dreadful picture discussed and presented all day. But to what extent the Ukrainian authorities will feel that they have the impunity to go? I mean, the Russian election is, or the Russian phenomenon, the Russian event of last Sunday and last December, the parliamentary election, is very, very revealing, but revealingly depressive. That is to say, the falsifications are gross. They're in your face. Not only that, you can actually download the statistical evidence of these gross falsifications on the website of the Russian Electoral Commissions. You get all the evidence that 16 ethnic republics had the rates of participation that are statistically completely off the charts, between 95 and 100%, and voting for one party in 95 to 100%, etc. And we suspect that something very similar happened a few days ago. And the Russian authorities could not care less. That is, it is done openly, and they move forward, despite international, sometimes muted, in the case of Russian, criticisms, and despite all the evidence being presented by journalists, by people on the web and so forth, by muted academics. So the first unknown to me is the degree of boldness, of impunity that the Ukrainian authorities will feel that they have. That they will do it. There will be hundreds, thousands of observers internationally, hopefully a great many from Canada. They will do a fantastic job of exposing, of revealing, and will it have any impact domestically, that is, vis-à-vis the regime? That's an unknown to me. It had an impact in 2004. Will it have one in 2012, we'll see. The second unknown is the extent to which the current administration will have the capacity, not the will, but my first point is about the will, the capacity actually to falsify in central and western Ukraine. That was to me the first surprise of the Orange Revolution. The second was the mass mobilization. The first surprise was that we were convinced, or we suddenly felt it would be very plausible, that the administration would, the then Kuchma administration, Kuchma Yanukovych, would be able to manipulate the results throughout Ukraine. But they could only manipulate the results in their own backyards, primarily in Donetsk, where the 1 million votes were fabricated. They couldn't do it in central in western Ukraine. And as we remember, Yushchenko had huge majorities, and rates of participations were regular, like following sociological normal curve. And that's the unknown to me. Will they be able? If they're not able, then there's something about, there's a resilience here about. That's the positive side, let's say, of the regional division in Ukraine. That in central and western Ukraine, the political culture, despite the massive pressure from the top, is different. That's the second unknown to me. The third is that maybe there's a factor out there that we can't think of that will actually have a positive impact. That factor in 2004 was this incredible mobilization. Of course, Lotko told us in his presentation, a very inspiring presentation, that it had been prepared. And of course, we know there's been a lot of preparations with the young people, Bora and so forth, but no one could plausibly imagine that it would actually lead to mass mobilization. It could have led to the kind of mobilization of the Ukraine without Kuchma, Ukraine без Kuchmy, that led to a few thousand, 10,000 maybe, and then repression. That was the unknown in 2004. Wow, it came from the inside, and then you had international pressure. I have no idea if we can have another similar kind of mass mobilization, but maybe there's another factor out there. That's my third unknown. On that note, I would like just to express a few thanks. I'll be more brief than Bob was yesterday, because he had a lot of people to thank. It's the organization. This has been a very successful conference. It's a very impressive event. I have to confess, mea culpa, when Bob Onyschuk was on campus a month ago with Taras Zaluski, I didn't imagine that we could attract more than 100 people, which is already a lot of people. And Bob said there's absolutely no way the room that I showed him, because our bigger rooms were unfortunately already reserved, and we couldn't unreserve them. It was not politically possible. And Bob said absolutely not, and I was surprised. I said, okay, that's the way it feels. And then yesterday 234, and my students tell me we were way over 200 in the registrations today. So I have to give credits where I have to your determination. So maybe by sheer force of will, something will happen in the Ukrainian election. This was an initiative of the Canada-Ukraine Foundation under the patronage of the Canadian-Ukrainian Congress, and we were asked to co-sponsor the Czech Ukrainian Studies, as well as Lotko Zaritsky's outfit, US-Ukraine...
Ukrainian relations.
I had the core elements, yeah, in the US. So as a collective enterprise, Yars Balan did a wonderful job of coordinating this with a number of people, with Lotko, with Boris Potapenko, I'm missing a few here, Lutko Kwasnitsia, Bogdan Krasimyu. There were all these conference calls that I couldn't take myself. And well, I'm getting to it. No, I didn't forget us. And then in my closing thanks, I want us to remember that in an event like this, the software is crucial to put a lineup together and to have the vision like Bob of thinking big and so forth. But ultimately, you also have the heavy lifters who do the logistical work. And here, the local office just opened. It was kind of their like an opening gift, I guess. In Ottawa, the UCC office with Taz Zaluski and Olyanka Reshidnik. With the help, here I have to give credit to my own students, to the students at the Chair of Ukrainian Studies, Natalia Stepaniuk and Isabel in particular, and a few others, did an inordinate amount of work, particularly the last 2 weeks when they didn't sleep much, to put this together. So. I'll give it to the taskmaster now.